Hello, welcome to Hi-Fi Tech. This is part 3 of A to Z of subnetting. I like to inform you that all the examples that I gave in part A, B, and the example I will give you in part C are all taken from CCNA, Nokia, and Huawei certification exams. So this will be very helpful to you. So in this part, I will show you how you can divide a network. We call it subnetworks. Let's take an example. Let's say we have an IP address 62.176.42.64/24. So we want to divide this into two networks. Let's say one network is 0 and the other one is 1. So let's see what is the total number of networks for this IP. So the formula is 2 to the power n, and n is equal to 32 minus 24 minus 24. So this comes to 8. So 2 to the power 8, 2 to the power 8, 2 to the power 8 is equal to is 256. This is the total number of networks that we can have with this IP. So let's make it this color. So now we want to divide this total number of networks into subnetworks, two subnetworks. So how we can do that? Let's say let's sub subnetwork one, subnetwork one. Let's say how we can find the subnetwork one. We know that. Let me copy the IP. Control C. Control. So this is /24. So we know from the previous videos that 24 is 8 and 8 is 16. 24.0. So when we have an IP like that, so this means this is 8. So this will be written as 62. This is 8, so it will be 176. This is 8, so it will be 142. So now this is 0. So this means we will play with the fourth octave. Here we will use the formula. For the 4 octave, we will start using our formula. Formula is 128 64 32 16 8 4 2 1. Okay. Now, when we divide a network into subnetwork, this means we have a starting bit. Let me write here start bit, starting IP, starting IP. And second, we have where the IP will end IP. So when we say starting IP, this is also known as network ID. Network ID. This will be the network ID of our subnetwork 1, and end IP is known as broadcast ID. So the starting IP of our subnetwork 1 is known as network ID, and the end IP is known as broadcast ID. So let's see how we can calculate. So when we divide into two subnet, when we divide an IP into two subnetwork, the first is 0, the second is 1. Now, in the second example, I will show you how we can divide into 4 subnetworks. The process is the same. So when we'll say 0, this means the first bit of this IP is 0. Let me bring it here. The first ID is 0. And this ID, because this is the first network is 0, this ID is fixed. This ID is fixed. We will not change it. It become, make it yellow. Yellow is not, you cannot see the yellow. Let's make it blue. Okay. So this 0 is fixed. I will show you what it means when it's fixed. The rest will be all zeros. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. When we talk about the subnetwork 2, let me write here, subnetwork 2. And we will do the same thing. Let's copy this. And our formula will be the same. But here, instead of 0, our bit is 1. So I will change 0 to 1. In subnetwork 1, the fixed bit is 0. And in subnetwork 2, the fixed bit is 1. So now let's find the starting and ending IP of first network. Because they're all 0, so when we add all of them, we will get 0. So our starting IP, which is also known as network ID, will become 62.176.42.64 dot. So this is our network ID starting at. Now where this gonna end, we will make it, instead of 1, our fixed bit is the same. The rest bit, we will make them 1. So the rest will be 1, but we will not change the starting bit because this is fixed. It cannot be changed. So let's put it here. This bit will remain same, 0, because this is fixed. The rest, we will make them all 1. So when we will add 64, 32, 16, it comes to 127. So our end ID, let's bring it here. So that. So it will become 62.176.42.127. So we'll put here 127. And the end IP is also known as broadcast ID. So our starting ID for this network is 64, is 0. Is 0 and the end IP is 127. So when we will add these two, we get the number of network we get from here is 128. Now let's do the same thing for the subnetwork 2. This bit is fixed. So first all the bits will be 0 like we have done in the subnetwork 1. So let me just copy it. We'll do the same thing. First we will make them all 0 and second we will make them all 1. So when we will make all of, when we will add all these, it comes to only the first bit is 1, so it will become 128. So this means our starting IP for subnetwork 2 will be 62.176.42.128. This is the starting bit. Now end bit, which is also known as broadcast ID. So end bit will be, we will add, this is also 1 because the 1 is fixed. So if we add all of them together, we get 255. So this is our end bit. It's so simple. 62.176.42.255. Now, how we can check if these IPs, what we have gotten, are correct or not? First, what we did, we took this IP and we found the total number of network. We got 256. This is the total network we can get. Now we have divided this network into sub-network, two additional sub-network. So when we will divide 250, let's do it here. So 128 minus 255, let's say 255 minus 128 is equal to 128. So sub network 2, the total number of network we got is 128. And in sub network 1, we got 128. So when we'll add 128 plus 128 is 256 plus 128 is equal to 256. So from here, we can double check that our answer is correct. So these are IPs of our first subnetwork, and these are the IPs of our second subnetwork. The only thing you have to remember here, when you divide into 2, you just make a circle and just divide it into zeros and 1. The first subnetwork will be 0. The first bit will be 0. Like here, the first bit is 0. And this bit is fixed. You cannot change it. You cannot make it 1. And the rest, the first, you will make them all 0. And then in the second time, you will make it all 1s. So all zeros will be our starting point and all 1s will be our end point. And second thing you have to remember is the starting IP is also known as network ID. So this will be the network IP of our first subnetwork, this one. And the broadcast will be there. Now, let me show you how you can do the same thing with how you can divide the same into 4 subnetworks. Now we will do the same thing and we will divide it into 4 subnetworks. So let's say subnet work 1. What it will be, as we already know that 24 is 8.8.8.0. So this bit will be the same. So 62.176.42. These are fixed. Now we will play with our formula. 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 4, 2, 1. Now we will take the first one. First one is 00. Let me color it red. Okay, now this is our first subnetwork. This is our second subnetwork. This is our third, and this is the fourth. So first we'll take both bits are 0. So the first 2 bits are 0. So this is 0 and this is 0. This means that these are fixed. These are fixed. You cannot change them. So our starting bit, starting IP, starting IP of first subnetwork will be, because these are fixed, the first we will make them all 0. So all the other bits will be all zeros. They will be 0. So when we will add all zeros, we get 0. Second, what we will do, let me just copy it. Second step is make them all 1. So this will be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So when we'll add all of them, 32 plus 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Let's just sum them together. 63. So our end IP is 63. So our starting IP, as we found, is 0 and the end IP is 63. So it will become 62.176.42.0. This is the starting, and the end IP will be 62.176.42.63. This will be 63. So how many network does it give us? 0 to 63 is give us 64. So after I calculate all the IP, we will add all the subnetwork. We should get 256. Now this is done for 00. Now let's do it for 01. Give it a color blue. Okay. Now our subnetwork 2. Method is the same for all of them. For subnetwork 2, let me just copy it from here. Control C. We will copy this also. Our formula will be the same. Now in subnetwork 2, 0, 1, let's make it, the first bit is 0 and the second bit is 1. We know that these bits are fixed. So let me make it blue. Make this blue and this one white. So our first two bits 0, 1 here are fixed. So what we will do? First, we will write all zeros. So when we will add all zeros, we get 64. So our starting IP will be from 64. Now our end IP will be, because these are fixed, we will not change them. And the rest, we will make them all 1. When you will make them all 1, so we get, just add here 64. So when we will add all them, we get 127. So our starting IP and end IP. So for subnetwork 2, our starting IP is 62.176.42.64. So it's 64. And our end IP is will be .127. So this is our starting IP and this is end IP. So when we subtract 127, so when we will subtract 127 from 64, this will give us so 64 minus 127, this will give us 64 subnetwork. Because we are counting starting, because 64 is also used as for network to 127. So we get 64. So far the subnetwork 1 and 2 are the same. So we know that we are going on the right track. Now let's check for subnetwork 3. So our third subnetwork we will use this one. Let's give it a color brown. So this is our third subnet. So we will use the same formula. Take the IP, write it here, and then our formula will be the same. So see, and our fixed bits are 1 and 0. So the first bit is 1, the second bit is 0. So let's fix it. This, yeah. So our starting bit, we know that it's all 0. Let's take this one. We are doing the same thing. So the starting bit will be from 0 and the last bit is all 1. So 1 to 8 is 1, the rest are all zeros, so we get 1 to 8. This is our starting IP for third subnetwork. And now, see, see. And for our end bit, except of 64, the rest are the same. So we will remove this and add 1 to 8. We get 191. 91. So our starting bit is 1 to 8 and our end bit is end IP is 191. So what we'll get 62.176.42.128 and our end IP is 62.176.42.191. So 191 subtract 128, we get 64. So this is also so far correct. This is the network we can get. Now let's do the last one. Our last one is 1-1. Let's keep it same color. So here we will do it. Let's make it fourth subnetwork. So we're using the same. Let's just copy all of it. Control C. And we will copy our formula. And the bits are 1-1. The fourth is 1-1. So this will be 1 and this will be 1. Made it black. So let's make it all black. And color will be white. So now let's add all of them together. So the first all zeros, so here we will get 192 and our end bit will be 255. 255. So now we will copy this, and for our fourth subnetwork, our network ID network IP will be 62.176.42.192 and our broadcast ID will be IP will be 62.176.42.255 and this is also come to 64. Now let's combine. This is the first is 64, 64, 64, 64. So 64 multiplied by 4 is 256. 256. So 256 is the network that we started with, 256. We have divided this network into two subnetwork, and then we divided into 4. So, but our total network is the same. So this is the way you can check also if you have done the right calculation. It's very simple. And one more thing that you need to practice all this, because when you are taking the certification exam, you have only 30 seconds to solve this equation. Of course, they will not ask you to calculate the OR 4. Maybe they will ask you to find the fourth subnetwork. So you have to remember the first is 0001, 10, and 11. So you have to remember and you do it. So when you take the certification exam, you have to solve all these network questions within 30 seconds. So I hope you practice all these, and I will come with more examples that will help you to take the subnetwork uh, questions in CCNA, Huawei, and Nokia certification exam. Thank you.